It's that time, guys. Hey, y'all, what's up, my beautiful peeps? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Get a Sense 92, giving you guys the latest and exclusive content on new music, entertainment news, and inspirational quotes by yours truly. The Queen is back. I'm going to talk about this, and it's time to talk about it, period. And I'm going to really say this music is at an all time low. We already know that. But I'm going to talk about the ratchet music ruining R&B and hip hop. And I actually was looking into some stuff and I said, Get Cincinnati 2 is going to talk about it because I feel it needs to be addressed. And you're open to have your, have feel free to have the red carpet, have your opinions because I really want to see and I want to hear from what you guys feel. How do you feel about ratchet music being more promoted more and overshadowing the art and the essence of R&B and hip hop music without the show? I'm sorry, without the soul, because I feel like at this point, it's time for new musicians. It's time for new innovations in music. And it's not always this like, well, the artists that are talented, they have the whole entire 9 yards, but they're not mainstream enough or they're not popular enough because there's plenty of musicians that are bringing that nostalgia back. But anyway, I'm sick and tired of this ratchet music era that we're at right now. Mumble rap, especially where it's like R&B and hip hop, in my honest opinion, they go hand in hand. And even years ago, R&B pretty much became the the force of like new music, new nostalgia in terms of the sound, incorporating different elements of R&B, soul, pop, dance, rhythm and blues, and folk music and acoustic and alternative music. So different sounds within like R&B music. That's why we've had, really the greats of their generation that passed on to becoming, what I mean by that, like they have really made their mark and paved the way for the next generation to do the same thing and even have showed love to the up and coming new generation of musicians so they can do the same thing. And I just feel like a lot of things are just wrong in so many ways. And hip hop became like the solid foundation of like it really has been inspired by R&B soul music because hip hop is pretty much like the rhythm, the blues, the soul, the movement, different sounds. It could be like anything from up tempo, mid tempo, slow tempo. But I feel like ratchet music destroyed everything when it comes down to like the art. Now I have to be really blunt because I feel like even as I listen to music now, I don't even listen to today's radio as much. I don't. Your girl pretty much just sticks to like what she grew up with, but it's not that I don't have an open mind, listening to like different artists because I do. But there are plenty of really, really amazing, gifted, talented musicians that they deserve to have their glory. They deserve it. They put in the work ethic, the creativity, innovation. Only thing is with this new era of music, sonically the sound now is just so microwavable. It's like not only that is microwavable, it just doesn't give you the feeling. It doesn't give you that nostalgia of like the soul. When you listen to a production, you listen to like how the production flows. How is that production stand out? How is it different? And then incorporating with different elements of the sound of music. It could be an R&B record, and it has more of a funk. It has that funk production that goes with it in the rhythm and blues. You can have an R&B soul record has like a pop sound, nostalgia, a dance sound. And I feel this is a lot of issues that I'm dealing with. I feel like as a fan of music, and like I said, you guys are pretty much, you guys have all of my support because I do appreciate, listening to people's different opinions on how, but People, they want that authenticity in music, that they want talented artists to shine. They want the quality. I think that quality does exist. It still exists. The only thing is quality is being pushed a lot. Quantity is being pushed a lot on mainstream radio. And we don't really hear a lot of quality artists, but maybe every blue moon, and probably a mixture of whatever. And what I do is personally, even when I go out to the stores, and there are like stores that play like, the 70s music, the 80s music, the 90s music. Those genres have really captivated and really create a new force of like a new generation of like, I kind of feel like music is subjective because it is. But I also think that as time goes on, I'm seeing a lot of this repetition. I'm seeing a lot of this lack of creativity, a lack of nostalgia. Now, what I mean by that, artist development. There are musicians that do I do notice that they have the talent, but they don't have the people that will help them hone their skills. They have to hone their skills themselves first. But I feel that in terms of like marketing, in terms of like promotion, there are a lot of things that people have said, well, this is the sound that this artist was known for. And like I said, as fans, the fans know because I definitely have taken into consideration that not only do musicians have to really have more of a strategic foundation of promoting their music, branding, marketing, finding their artistry sonically. And it's very important that they know the music business and they study the music business as well. There are a lot of things that like I even sit back and I see people how they just they it's constructive criticism, and at the same time not only is constructive criticism, but I see how people are saying, oh my goodness, this music is so terrible, I hate this music. And this new generation coming up, Gen Z, they don't know anything about music, or like I said, everything's microwavable. Well, every generation will have their own musicians that they like and they grow up and love. I'm not here to dictate somebody who to listen to. I'm not here to dictate somebody. If they like an artist that I don't like their sound or music, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I will say this: it's pretty much like with R&B and soul music. Because I'll talk about R&B and soul music right now, and then I'll get into hip hop a little bit later. R&B and soul music pretty much had like that euphoria, very like smooth, very like it's more of that alternative sound. Whether it's like you got like the up tempo jams, like the mid tempo jams, the slow jams, the sexy jams, like it has a lot of that. And what happened is R&B soul artists also, they did not just want to stick to one sound, so they had pushed different sounds and they had created more of like the pop sound. They created more of that dance sound and more of, combining like funk, jazz, neo soul. Um, there are different genres. Now, I'll say this: Black musicians had to really fight hard for their sound and their work ethic because you know what? That music industry is trash. Yes, it is. It's been trash for years. And plus, the R&B music is rooted in the black musicians and the black community, where black musicians based off of, like years ago ancestries, where rhythm and blues is the foundation. Rhythm and blues make you want to feel. Rhythm and blues makes you, feel good, and it brings a new excitement, spontaneous. So when we hear like the hits and the classics of artists that we grew up with and that we adore, there are certain records that are timeless that people say, wow, yeah, I remember when this single came out. I remember when this album came out. I remember when one went to see so and so on the era of the concert tour. Those are memories. Those are like really nice gems where musicians are have been creating something to really not only feel like they have to stay in the box, but they have to really push themselves. That goes for hip hop. Same thing with hip hop. Hip hop was it's hip hop started to be like in the late 80s, and they pretty much was like, man, let's try something different. Let's and I know commercially there has been like when people were saying like, man, it's hip hop to me is a movement. Is there's different, varieties of hip hop artists, musicians, topics. And I know positive like hip hop artists that or like in between, like I wouldn't say like it's just having that versatility because hip hop I know is dominated by black musicians and black culture, right? And hip hop is universal in my honest opinion because of course people gravitate towards it because one, I don't feel like it's always just fun and catchy, but the sound, and then people have a really good musical ear and really good musical taste. And I think that hip hop definitely right now it is trash today. That ratchet hip hop, the ratchet R&B, the ratchet hip hop mainstream. And I don't even think that in the next how many years, like 10, 20 years, it's going to change. But I actually feel that it's going to take for musicians to really like study the greats. One side note, they will never be the next of the greats of those greats, but they're going to be the next greats of themselves from themselves. And then they push and kick the door down for the next generation. Um, and I understand like people have their own opinions about who they grew up with, who they listen to, which is fine. But I also feel like it's also different factors where it's like we do see a variety of great musicians of this Gen Z generation. The only thing is they need to be more selfish and they have to get more aggressive. I have seen how people they have been like, well, this artist came out years ago. They're getting themselves out there now, and mainstream is like gearing towards them. And I feel that mainstream is trash, of course, because mainstream is a bunch of freaking baloney. I mean, it's garbage. I can like make a video about this all day long. Yeah, it's garbage. And like I said, it is garbage. So my thing is, there needs to be more like these musicians just have to get more like just stay true to their artistry because it is very difficult now. I mean, I even don't really look forward to like especially when it comes down to like how people say, yeah, I don't know why. Okay, I don't know why, it it's more of like music business wise, it's more of like a lot of that machine, and I think that the machine in the music business, like people around there, um, music is just like I said, it's a product, that's just how it is. And like there's other factors where musicians that they have found their sound and they work hard for their sound and they have they could put out a single that really does cater to mainstream on the radio. But I think that as I observe, I feel that it's going to get more where musicians are going to just be more independent. And I think the independent route, well, I believe, is the best route because, like labels, record labels, I mean, just saying nowadays, it's really the business, and people like sometimes I personally feel that, you guys can agree with me and you guys don't have to agree with me. I just don't really feel that. I don't feel like these musicians need to have a record label no more. I don't think these record labels, I'm so sorry. These record labels do not. These record labels do not care. They don't. And I pretty much would say this: it is what it is. So, and I really think about how the musicians that I grew up with, how they pretty much had that passion for music. They can do it all. They have their sound. They worked on their artistry. They worked on their craft. They had worked on their image. They have worked on their marketing, their brand. And there have been messed up stories how they've been put in a limbo with contracts, people, controlling like their artistry on every single move. Like they don't even have control of their artistry at all. Like they want to create a new sound. It has to be what sells at the moment. And unfortunately, we're living right now where the mainstream is like now it's like, well, it's what at the moment, how it's going to sell at the moment. That's what it's about. It's not so much about talent anymore. It's not so much about, well, yeah, you can have all the talent in the world. You can have all the work ethic, the creativity. You can be top tier musicianship. It's just you're not in that world. It's a whole different ball game. And I'm mindful about like how really, as a fan of artists that I grew up with, I'm like this. I'm just gonna be listening to their music. I will be excited to listen to like a new song, a new project, and that's it. I'm keeping it pushing as a fan. And I feel like fans also, make a difference because most fans build a connection with the musician through the music. And then the marketing has gotten so terrible. Watch my video, Give Since Night 2, how musicians can market and brand themselves. Go watch that video. You can say like you can put get the Sense 92 marketing and branding, whatever, however you want to do it. But it got worse, guys. Y'all, I mean, I literally would just be like, I know there are ways, positive things that could have been done, that could have been prevented. Like marketing strategy for musicians now, and especially time to that ratchet R&B and hip hop sound, it's like that's what's selling right now. It's selling like hotcakes. That's it. I mean, that's what's selling. That and people are saying, I'm sick and tired of it. Like I have seen people go off and say, I am sick and tired of this, you know, like I said, this microwavable trend, this, aesthetic of microwavable mediocre. So I also feel like ratchet R&B and hip hop music, it needs, in my honest opinion, I mean, that's fine. People like that's cool, but it ain't, especially with like people making substance music, they're just gonna have to separate themselves. And with that being said, I'll say this. I really want to see changes. I really do. A progression, a new sound, a new movement, a new era. I really do. I really, really do. But even like I said about how on my like okay previous videos I've said that, and you got musicians that they have been put in a limbo, and they had like people like even like the fickle, like there are also there's another factor too, that's like the fickle like toxic like audience. Sometimes it does, affect, musicians, relevancy and longevity in music, because you got toxic, audience, the fans, they want musicians to stay in one box or just make this certain type of R&B soul music or just make this certain type of hip hop music where they've been diverse for all of these years. Why is it that I'll say this. Why is it that you think like even black musicians, and I get sick and tired of people putting black musicians in the box, because black musicians shouldn't feel that they have to just stick to doing R&B and soul and hip hop just to sell records. Or to make it worse, you have to make this ratchet mumble music just to sell records. You can make any kind of genre and sell records. It has happened before. years ago. So what's the difference? But the difference is we're just living in this trash, same repetitive, you know, same old thing. So, and I know, like, I had to be honest. I used to get like, I wouldn't say upset, but I used to get like a little bit like why? And then now I'm like, okay, yeah, it's you know what? It's time to kick KICKASS period, and also some other things that I actually would love to mention, but I'm like, we got to really move. Yes, don't get it twisted. Yes, you can move with the times. You have to follow the trends in music, of course that's going to happen. Of course there's going to be a new era of music, but you have to set trends. It's okay for these musicians to set trends. It's okay for these musicians to say, forget this, F this, I'm going to do it my way, and I can make music with substance as long as I have top tier talent and I have creativity and control of my music career and longevity, and I know my worth as a musician, I should be able to slay, period, without feeling like that because I'm being compared to another musician, or, because my music is not like another musician. That's not, but like I said, I kind of was listening to some things, like other people's opinions, and I was like, I get really intrigued. I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, mm. Nah, like it is, and I mean, I get it. I pretty much understand like people like what they were saying about how people they'll say stuff like, yeah, I understand, where you're coming from, or, and I look, my thing is, you know, I feel like people in general with fans, I feel like we also have to do a better job at like promoting our, artists that we do love and we do support. And there are like positive ways that we do support. And also, it's okay to have constructive criticism from artists. That's fine. But also, I also feel like sometimes we don't want to be over too critical, because my thing is, and I have experienced this myself. I kind of feel that it may there may be a time where people may not be able to like, it's kind of like, it's it's very it's interesting to me that it's kind of like there's this uproar right now, like in like music right now. But I also feel that and ratchet R&B music and ratchet hip hop music has destroyed the foundation of art and artistry in hip hop soul, in hip hop R&B, whatever genre. So I kind of feel that we should, like I said, you don't like, hey, I feel like the radio is going to change. And when the radio changes, I feel like not only that, and I understand because like people say, well, the musicians with this talent of the Gen Z that they do have the talent. Like people have their opinions that, man, if they would have came out like in the early 2000s, or they would have came out in the 90s, they would have really, 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 because years ago there were like A&Rs, the older generation, like A&Rs, and like the, what they call it, like people that were working like in the music business, like people were like, yeah, they had like the marketing, they got the right people promoting, and then social media wasn't so, it wasn't a lot of that toxic stuff on social media. And like, this is another thing, this is how sometimes I feel like the social media thing era, like with TikTok, and I feel I have seen people say TikTok has ruined the art of promoting musicians, because musicians should be discovered. But now on TikTok, I may do a video about this, about TikTok and its relevance, because I do like to get into like different, you know, vehicles and different approaches when it comes to like people like having their opinions, like how music is like, it's just a different. it's just a different era and it's a different time. And I think TikTok it's not really necessary for musicians to promote their work. Now, be specific because people have said, musicians, on TikTok, they blow up so fast on TikTok, then they selling, records left and right, like anybody can be a musician. Anybody, it's like candy store, like, oh, anybody can be a musician. Oh, anybody can be a musician. Oh, what happened to all this? Like, all that greatness and nostalgia. Well, I have to be honest, it's gonna take time, years down the road, for people to, be it just takes time for greatness. Don't rush. And I even had to learn too, like, listen, just move and flow and kick KICKASS. That's it. That's all you can do. And be aggressive and cutthroat. And just know, your worth. Because I understand art, people that do have a passion for it, they do deserve their respect. You don't have to like them. I'll say this: you don't have to like them. But when I am sick and tired of people taking credit from people's work, and that's gonna be another video that your girl gonna talk about in the future because, huh, I do get angry. It may not seem like it, but I do get angry about that because even when musicians have stressed that they had got disrespected, for people taking their work, for taking their, hard-earned work, and people, the same people talking about, well, that was years ago, and their has-beens and their one-hit wonders. Well, I tell you what, also, whew, this is gonna be another one. Or I'll say this: there are people that have gotten too comfortable, and I've always have said this: be very mindful. Be very mindful because what you put into the universe is going to come right back. Period. So that's how I feel. I kind of feel like even like Ratchet and R&B music, and also, whew, don't get me started on like the songwriting. Don't get me started on like the freaking messages. Don't get me started on the daggone freaking repetition of the same mumble, blah, 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 mumble rap, trap rap. Or and also the freaking pop music is terrible too. Because even with that, like musicians that it's on the mainstream, the ratchet and the pop music, they put like it's more of a combination of like the ratchet sound plus the pop sound, and it is freaking terrible. It doesn't have no soul to it. So it's like, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's very, very, very sad. It's very sad. It's so freaking sad. It's terrible. It is so terrible. Like, not only is it, terrible, it's, like I said, it's not just terrible, but it's like, y'all, we gotta do better. There has to be more different opinions on this. But I want you guys to let your girl know, how do you guys feel about this? And I'm doing my best to explain it the way how I feel. But anything that you disagree, that's cool because, like I said, what do you guys think about like ratchet music, taking over and replacing the sound of R&B music and hip hop music and selling like hotcakes, where we have had, pretty much we've heard a lot better with the substance and the nostalgia. So with that being said, guys, let your girl know down below. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And like I said, I'll probably do more videos of this a little bit along the way. So stay tuned in the next episode of Gibson's 92. Like, share, comment, subscribe down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and as always, stay tuned in the next episode of Gibson's 92.